and welcome to Story Time with Trish, where we are reading from Treasures of Darkness, the book that I wrote while I was away. And this, we come to now the first letter to the outside world. And this was written when I was in S9, which is Secure Block 9. So we've moved from S7, the induction unit, into S9. And it is Sunday, the 1st of February 2009. And I haven't read this for a long time, so I didn't brush over it ahead of time, so I don't remember what happened here. Dear friends, I hope you're all happy. I'm having the most amazing time. Now, this letter was written, it's a private letter to just a handful of people that, so I was writing letters to different people and using up my stamps. So I asked my husband, I said, look, I'll write a letter to this handful of people, and if you could just take out the private bits that are for you and the girls, could you type them out as an email and send them so that I don't have to write, because I had to write in longhand and my handwriting is shocking. So he agreed to type it out as an email and send it to a handful of people, mostly our church friends. But that list ended up growing way beyond. But at this stage it was still quite small. I was moved to a new unit called S9. The last was S7 for inductees. To go straight to S9 is a compliment. The next stage is, because there was S8 as well, but I think it's just wherever there's space really. But apparently I thought that you'd go from 7 to 8 to 9, but I don't think that's how it works. The next stage is residential, where there are more independence and freedom. S9 holds 30 to 40 women. The first day was a bit hard as the atmosphere was different and some of the women had aggressive attitudes. We were being sized up, assessed. Would they deign to talk to us? Finally, I was asked my name. A rough-looking lady with no front teeth let me watch her play cards with her two Aboriginal friends. I felt quite secure. I figured this woman was about 12 years older than me. I later learned that she's about 5 years younger. Hard living eventually shows on your face. There was one particularly vicious young woman. Now, some of this is written in italics and I inserted it afterwards, and this is what I did then. This is looking back and putting this in. She was very dark, but not Aboriginal. She was African, I think, who seemed coiled to explode at any minute. She most accurately represented what I had expected to encounter. She was so full of anger that she really did seem possessed. I don't know how long she had been there. The next day she gave an officer a mouthful of abuse and was removed to the DU, the detention unit. The tone of the unit changed to a more normal, relaxed one once she was extracted. Hi Lisa, how are you? Good to see you there. Thanks for joining me. They're all very interested in what each other is in for. When it comes to fraud, most are single parents who did not declare extra earnings or claimed multiple pensions. Some were embezzlers. I wondered how many were quietly doing their time until they were able to access their nest egg. A lot of single mums are put in prison because they actually have boyfriends living with them, and a lot of them have no idea that that's something that they could go to jail for. But if it adds up, because it's fraud, they've got a partner that's living with them and they're claiming the single parent's benefit. So if they do that, or if you know people who do that, they're very perilous, because it only takes an upset ex-girlfriend or boyfriend to dob them in and they'll get slammed. They really will. If it reaches over a certain amount of money that shouldn't have been paid, then they will be prosecuted. So just bear that in mind when you know people who are shacked up with people that are considered a partner when they're not really a partner, and they're still claiming single parents. Nothing happens to the fellas though, interesting. but it's because it's Centrelink fraud and not regular fraud. So if he wasn't claiming Centrelink benefits, if he's got a job, he's fine. No. Some of these men seem to be made of Teflon. Not saying that to be sexist, but it just looks that way sometimes. Okay, so 1 or 2 women are so experienced in the court system that they actually help other women understand various legal documents they receive. And I was quite impressed with this. One was as smart as any lawyer on various legal topics. And I watched her. I must be careful not to use her real name because she became a friend of mine. And she's on Facebook. So if you're there, then hello and I love you. And she said, I heard her say, right, when you see a lawyer, tell him to say this. The only difference between her and a real lawyer was her compassion and, of course, her fee structure. I met an old lady. Oh, this is a story I tell when I'm talking to business groups, and it really shakes people up. Not just business groups, but here's the thing. I met an old lady, a pensioner, whose husband, I'll read the words because I get it right here. Her husband had done casual gardening for cash. We don't know anyone who does gardening or other services for cash, do we? Now, by the time they were dobbed in, the money he earned reached the amount punishable by prison. Both received 4-month sentences, both of them. His job, he's doing it, she got done as well. In addition, once released, the pension that they couldn't live on before will be docked until the money they were overpaid is paid back. So it's not enough that they get put in prison for it, they've got to pay the money back. So this poor, respectable grandmother, she was a respectable looking lady. She wasn't a scruff. She wasn't someone who had lived a lawless life. She could be your mum, your auntie, your grandma. She was a respectable looking lady, and she was broken. She was just broken. There was nothing I could say to comfort her. This was not her world. Some people come into prison and it's their familiar world. This was not her. She wasn't posh. She was just a regular grandma. Totally smashed. I tried to comfort her and she just went, look, I can't. I wondered if her children could have helped support them. I wondered, could a local church be the family they needed to help them? I wondered if those who are quick to judge are just as quick to refuse the discount of a cash job when they wanted something done. So, you know, you want to get on your high horse about people doing cash jobs and, well, they just shouldn't do that. Are you someone who would be prepared to pay someone, discount for cash? And we're not just talking discount for cash, but we mean cashies. You know, we're not stupid, you know. So, you know, before you get all high and mighty, if you've paid someone a discount for cash because you know they're not going to declare it, what makes you any different? Because to permit is to participate. I'm not judging because, well, I won't comment on that one about my own doings, but I have a lot of compassion for people. If they do cash jobs for a little bit on the side, it's up to them how they do it, but I've got a lot of compassion for them. I think there are some more serious criminals we can chase, but that's just my opinion. I've got a lot of grace for it. Okay, so, hope I didn't incriminate myself just then. So you can see why that scares the pants off some business people when I give a talk to a local Chamber of Commerce. Actually, you had some people, I'd given a talk to this business group and I was collecting testimonials afterwards, so I get my phone out and they say, oh, that was really great, that was really helpful. I said, would you mind telling my phone so I can put it on my website so people can go there and check out the testimonials and go, oh yeah, she's pretty good, so we'll hire her. And so a couple of people had given them, and I went to this gentleman, and he said, oh, gee, that was just, oh, my goodness, that was so good. I said, oh, would you mind giving me a testimony? He says, no, I can't. He said, you scared the shit out of me. I just got to deal with it. I went, oh. So that was kind of a compliment in a way, but I didn't get that testimonial because he was so shaken up. Anyway, back to it. It's only a couple of pages, so hopefully we won't be going too long. All right. Tonight we had roast chicken, which was surprisingly good. I later discovered the quality of the meals would vary as the prison kitchen workers came and went. Lining up for meals reminds me of youth camps where we'd line up and someone would ladle various dishes onto our plates. Afterwards, we'd wash our plates in water that was probably filthy by the time our turn came. Good times. I remember Mount Tutchakoy, where we'd go for youth camps, for Christian Outreach Centre. When I became a Christian at 16, and going to a youth camp just really empowered my life. They were good times. The second day, Amanda and I prayed hard and bound a spirit of strife, among other things. It was a much better day, and I discovered 6 other Christians, one of whom, Sandra, is studying for a bachelor's degree in ministries. I have changed all the names in this, by the way, to protect the guilty. It seems strange to me that such a high proportion of believers seem to have so little impact. Over the following months, I met many Christians. I discovered they mostly keep to themselves, too ashamed to share their faith. Often these Christians had found faith as they struggled with addiction, and through an outreach program such as Drug Arm, they were loved and supported in churches. Sometimes they still had outstanding warrants for which they were jailed, and sometimes they simply fell off the wagon. One of them told me that prison was the best thing for them, or they would never have left the drug culture and found Christ. Other Christians I met were single mothers who defrauded Centrelink welfare. So Centrelink is the Australian version of welfare, by having cash jobs on the side, or again, the boyfriend living with them as a partner. Shame will cripple a person's effectiveness more than anything else. The difference for me was that I had a strong sense of destiny. If I hid my faith, I would not be true to myself, and I would be rendered ineffective, and my prison time would serve no purpose. Today, some women wanted to do a Bible study and asked me to lead it. It may sound strange, but in this tense, rough place, to sit around a table with scriptures is like an oasis. It refreshes us, and the atmosphere changes. I chose Matthew 18:21 to 35 and taught on overcoming unforgiving attitudes. You imagine talking about unforgiveness in prison. Clueless. But, never one to shy away from the hard part of a battle. Well, sometimes. Maybe I was just clueless. Funnily enough, the others left the room, and before long, some started acting up outside. Prayer stirs up both positive and negative responses spiritually. If someone blames God for their situation, they can be angered by seeing someone pray. I warned the officer that we'd had a prayer meeting and that it could upset the spiritual climate. I said that to a prison officer. Oh, in hindsight, that was probably better left unsaid. You think? It's strange how quickly we can change the atmosphere by taking authority over it in prayer. It started as an argument among the women over use of the phone and then became an angry flare-up. It could be that the music is turned up too loud just for this song, and it causes irritation. Sometimes there's no reason other than someone wanting to assert herself. Some of the women think I'm a bit odd. Well, that's okay. I'm not quite S4 material. Remember, I'm in S9. S4 is where they put the, I don't want to say loonies, but that's for people with mental issues. The next day we had a chapel service. It was soothing just to bask in the corporate presence of God. What a relief to worship freely among believers. The chaplain used to be in a rock band, and during worship I began to intercede for the women here and wept for them. It was the first time I cried since before my sentencing. I didn't even cry during the 6 days in that horrid watch house. At the end of the service, I was given an opportunity to speak. I took the microphone and shared how I was a PK, pastor's kid, no better than they were, and a lot of money and prayers had been invested to keep me out of jail. A lot of money and prayers. Everything we earned, we spent on lawyers. And yet the Lord brought me in. I had been believing God that I wouldn't go in. My testimony I had hoped would be, phew, that was close. But that wasn't to be. My focus had been on selfish me. Now I am content and happy to offer whatever prayers and words of comfort as people need them. And I invited the ladies to seek me out to talk or pray, and they were very responsive. So the ones who come to chapel are seeking some sort of comfort. Well, there are troublemakers that turn up as well, but generally they're open. As many of my friends, I've got plenty of non-Christian friends on Facebook, and they accept me because it's part of who I am, and I accept them. And I don't feel like I need to hide that part of my life from them. And I will pray for them at any opportunity. Of course I will. And you know who you are. I am where the Lord wants me to be. I am in the zone. Yeah, I did. I felt like I was in the zone. Strange. When we returned to the unit, I immediately saw the atmosphere was different. There was a gentler tone, and I know it was because we took charge in the Spirit. I was not, and I'm still not, afraid. In fact, I feel like I'm in charge spiritually, and the girls seem to respect me. I told God I wanted to be effective, and that is what is happening. Now, I've made up some place names as well, so that they couldn't be identified. So I can probably tell you what they are now. There's a lovely Aboriginal lady here who lives in, I called it Brownsville normally. It was actually Inala. Could you ask Pastor Lowry, that was a different pastor then, I made up that name, if she could go there and be nurtured when she leaves. So in the book I changed it. In my letter I had the real words. It was Inala, and it was Pastor Lance Walk-On. So he had a church out at Inala, and that's Tim and Wendy McDonald now out at Inala, and so anyway, I was asking if people could connect her, or refer people to them. Right. So yeah, if anyone could ask that pastor if she can go there and be nurtured when she leaves. I have recommended it to her, and she really loves God. So I don't know whether she went there. I don't know whether she did. And some hindsight notes. In letters, I would occasionally ask for someone to tell a pastor from a specific area to be on the lookout for a referral of mine. Unfortunately, a general request was not effective. I discovered this in an embarrassing way when I caught up with one of those pastors at a conference after getting out. Actually, this was Pastor Lance. I don't know if he remembers. We're at the coffee shop at COC at Carindale there, and City Point. And so I just said, "Oh, hi Lance, it's good to see you again." "Yes, good to see you too." "So have you had the Aboriginal women I referred come along?" "Oh yes, we have lots of them. I met some lovely ones while I was away." "Oh, that's good." And he was politely interested. "Yes, I'm so glad you were there to help them. Did Edna come and see you?" I changed that name out. Edna? No, I don't think so. Oh, well, she and the others live in your area. They really touched my life. And he looked confused. And Lance, I know you're a friend on here, so hopefully you'll catch this video at some point. Or maybe someone will message you and say, hey, you're mentioned in Trish's video. You might not even remember this conversation, but I remember it because I was so embarrassed and mortified at the end. And you wouldn't have, that was nothing to do with you. You were quite friendly and nice, and I was I don't know where I was. So he looked confused. Well, I've been away. A missions trip? He still looked confused, and I blushed. Because I was so embarrassed to tell anyone. I was in jail. I whispered. I thought you knew. No, I didn't. Wow. Uncomfortable pause. Yes, and I met a lot of Aboriginal women, some of whom I recommended your church to. Oh, well, thanks. That's great. Don't worry, if they turn up, we'll look after them. Great, says me, Gotta go. See ya. You know that awkward feeling when you are talking with someone and realise you are each having a different conversation? I felt like I had just realised I'd forgotten to put my pants on. I was going to have to sound people out before dropping the J word, jail. So I took a break there, and then I continued the letter. So how long is the rest of that letter? It's 2.5 pages. So how about I continue? That'd be okay? Cool. So the first letter continued. Funny story. Sitting bored in the yard, a dominant woman piped up with, oh no, this is so silly. Did you know that the armpit hair of the hand you write with is bigger than the other side? Just let that sink in for a minute. The armpit hair of the hand you write with is bigger than the other side. And no, they exclaimed, and then started darting around inspecting one another's armpits to compare the size of the shaved areas. It was very funny to watch. Please tell Jan that I received her card. If you make a card that has things glued or stuck on, that was Jan Campbell. She would send me cards, and as many of you did. It won't. If things are glued or stuck on, they won't get through. People might have drugs under the stickers, which can be peeled off and licked. If I work, the pay rate ranges from $2.11 to $4.11 per day. I have put my name down to study a few topics. I'll do whatever becomes available. So those without work receive $9.27 per week, out of which all personal items must be purchased except for sanitary products and meals. Those are provided. Some women have no family to put money in their trust accounts. They must use the prison allowance to make phone calls, buy toothpaste, hair products, or even underwear once the prison-issued 3 pairs have worn out. Proper cigarettes are expensive, so the women buy pouches of tobacco. Now, since then, cigarettes have been banned. There's no smoking in prisons. Most women smoke, therefore tobacco and the accompanying tally-ho papers are a priority here. They are a form of illegal currency. Our day goes like this. 6:30 a.m, awakened by an officer's voice coming through a speaker. 7:05 a.m, officer looks in the window to see if you are still there. Bedding must be folded with the mattress against the wall. 7:30 a.m, stand by our door to be counted. We make sure our brown paper bag containing our crockery and cutlery is out with us. We will not be able to access our room, our cell, until the afternoon lockdown at 1 p.m. If we want to be able to read or write, we take those materials out now too. Breakfast. We can help ourselves to cereal and bread for toasting most of the day. And I think that's been taken away during the day too, because it contributes to obesity. Because there's nothing to do. It's very boring. There's very little to do, so people eat. Mostly bread and cereal. The yard door is open for the smokers and those who need to ring their children, to phone their children before the extended or foster family takes them off to school. So I would call my family probably the most inconvenient time of the day when they're trying to get ready for school, to say hello and speak to the girls. Any time after this, the medication trolley comes along. Sometimes it's accompanied by a normal, nice nurse, or sometimes by cranky nurse cat's bum. Remember? Referring to the pursed lips of her disdainful expression. 9 a.m. Some go to work. Work could be gardening, cutting up rags in a workshop, or working in the kitchen. 7 people are allowed to go to the gym or the library. These activities often clash, even though they're not offered every day. I haven't been to the library yet, but we can go twice a week for 10 minutes. Now, I learned to put my name down early for the library trip. This is another hindsight comment. Some officers would let you do this, others would not take your name until close to the time. I chose to risk their annoyance rather than miss out. Sometimes a chapel service will be scheduled. On those days, we didn't know whether an officer would permit only 7 to go or follow the rules, which didn't have a restricted number. This inconsistency became a matter of contention down the track. 12 p.m. lunch, 1 p.m. we can go to our room or stay in the hall or yard. 2:15 p.m. leave our cell. We must stay in the hall or yard. No wandering in and out of our cells. It can be very boring. We can choose to be locked in our cell again. 4:30 p.m. dinner and last minute smoke time. Just got half a page to go. 6:15 p.m. 6:15 locked back in our cells. Yeah, so dinner is at 4:30 and then back in our cells at 6:15. I still share with Amanda, which is good. We alternate who sleeps on the floor. You can't send me any books. It takes a while for mail to arrive because it must be read by a staff member. Nice when it does, though. God is good. One girl thought I was a junkie at first because I'm so pale. No, I stretched out my arms. Check out these beautiful veins. Bet you wish you had them. So, yeah, I have a very pale skin. She reached forward, grasped my wrist in one hand, tapped my forearm professionally with the other. She goes, "Yep, good veins." I went to an art class today. I'm not great at art. Some of the Indigenous girls do beautiful Aboriginal paintings. I don't know where they find the patience to do all those dots. Perhaps it's relaxing. Some of their work is just breathtaking. I met another chaplain today. She said she came to find me as the other chaplains had told her about me. She prayed for me, and then I prayed for her and the other chaplains. She was surprised and touched. You can send an email to Justin and he will print it out and send it with his mail if you would like to write. Bye for now. Love, Trish. So that was that first letter to the outside world. And I began to receive letters from you guys, many of you, when that one was sent out. And gosh, it made all the difference in the world. And he would send them in separate envelopes. So any letters that came from different people, instead of putting them all in the one envelope, he'd put them in each person, an envelope from each person. And so when the mail turned up, it'd be like, Jenkins, 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 Jenkins. And it was like having lots of presents. Alrighty, so that's Saturday. And tomorrow is Sunday in Australia. Well, tomorrow is Saturday elsewhere. But we will talk again. And tomorrow will be some journal notes. And maybe I'll do 2 because it's only short. But we'll see how we go. All right. Bless you heaps. And I will see you next time. Okay. Bye. You doing all right, Dashy? Here's Dash. Hello. Keeps me company. Likes the stories, don't you? In my